Guess it's not an easy video for me to do. It's not going to be an easy video for people to accept. I should have done this 6 months ago, but here I am now. Basically, it's going to be tough to just even to do the videos and to put them together, but I've got to do that. So here's the deal. I want to explain where we were, where we are, where we're going, and what we can do. It's going to take a lot of people sharing a lot of information and everything. Look, I hope I'm wrong. I pray for the best, but I'm going to prepare for the worst, because even as I speak right now, this very second, let's see, what is today? June 13th, it's Monday, the market's melting down again. That doesn't mean that this is the moment, but it's been melting down, and let's talk about it. The Federal Reserve is now forced to crash the market and cause a recession. Technically, we're already in a recession. They just won't. They just won't fess up and tell you. The inflation rates, they're manipulated. They're higher than they are. Well, anyway, last Friday, June 11th, inflation rates came out higher than they expected. Because as you may know, they've been saying for a very long time, well, it's transitory, and then they even transitioned from it being transitory to they were peaking. You know, they were peaking last February into March, April. The data that came out last Friday put us up to what, 8.5 or 8.6. Once again, I tell you, that's manipulated data. It's actually higher than that. You know that. You're paying these grocery bills. You're paying your energy bills. You're seeing this. If you're not, then you're in another tax bracket. It doesn't matter anyway. So anyway, they have to crash the market. They have to push us into this recession. So think about this with me. 1929 stock market crash. The US dollar was stronger and we weren't in debt. Right now, what are we? $30 trillion in debt? That's unimaginable. The majority of that was created since March 2020, and it can't be sustained. They know that. Look at what's going on right now. You're going to have these interest rate hikes. You've got over-leveraged banks, supply chain issues, inflation. The list goes on and on and on. Wars that we're paying for. I'm telling you, this is incredible, and it's all culminating right now. They've kept it afloat as long as they can. Any time that it still stays afloat is a manipulation, and eventually there's going to be a step, and it's going to be a Lulu. It's not necessarily going to happen due to a CPI index or a rate hike or anything like that. I think it's going to come out of the blue, and when it does, it's going to surprise a lot of people. It's going to cause a lot of fear, but we have to do it. We have to pull the Band-Aid. We have to hit bottom so that we can grab that spot to build on. Okay, so the Federal Reserve, I want you to understand, it's not a federal organization. It's not a part of our government. It's its own entity. The Federal Reserve is no more government than the Federal Reserve. But why does it matter so much that to the Federal Reserve that they have to crash the markets, that they have to cause a recession? Well, the reason is the very thing that they're in business with is the US dollar. The US dollar, as we speak, is the world's reserve currency. And why is that important, you ask? Well, the US dollar being a reserve currency to the world. It's very important to us. It's very important to our economy. Very important to many economies around the world, and as a matter of fact, to the world economy as of 2 years ago. So here's the deal. The US dollar can't remain the world's reserve currency if it's unstable. A fiat currency that is unstable will not be used that way. And if that happens, we're going to sink even lower, and we're going to take a lot of countries with us. So the Federal Reserve, so pardon the language, they're going to be hell-bent on putting some strength back into this dollar. The strength that you see right now is somewhat manipulated, but it's weakening. And to gain that strength back, they've got to push us into this recession. They've got to crash the markets to turn around to make it all work again. Think about it. Hyperinflation with the US dollar, the world's not going to trade on that. Look at Venezuela. Do you think the world would want to use the Venezuelan dollar as a world trading currency? Not at all. And the thing is the world has to have a reserve currency to do the trading on. And we're reaching a critical tipping point. As a matter of fact, we're not reaching it. We're on it right now. So how are they going to avoid this hyperinflation? So how are they going to avoid the hyperinflation and get this under control? Well, they're going to use their tools. As Jerome Powell keeps saying, we'll use our tools. Well, get your toolbox out. They've been doing interest rate hikes, and everybody moans and groans and panics over that. Well, guess what? These 50 basis point inflation or interest rate hikes aren't going to cut it. The bare fact is, right now they need to do a complete 5% interest rate hike, maybe at their meeting this Wednesday, but they're not going to do that. That would absolutely pummel everything, but it would get it under control faster. So, along with their interest rate hikes, they've got quantitative tightening. Now what that is the opposite of what they were doing before, which was quantitative easing. With quantitative easing, what they were doing was pushing money into the markets. It's kind of like when you're in a buyer's club, big one like Sam's Club, or I don't know, the other ones, Costco maybe, or something like that. When you've got everybody buying together, it gives you better prices, right? Well, with quantitative tightening, they're not putting as much in now. And as they back off, it's like you've lost all those buying partners. So, with the combination of them decreasing the amount of money that they're putting into the system, along with interest rate hikes, that is what will gain control over inflation. Getting control over inflation helps to stabilize the dollar. Helping to stabilize the dollar would actually help the world economy. I mean, think about it. I know I already said it, but you've got these crazy gas prices. We're basically headed into shortages with diesel. You've got food shortages that are happening. Look at the baby formula, you know, and along with all the other conditions that we've created with ourselves. I told everybody, I don't mean to be one of those people, but when they were handing out $1,400 checks to everybody, I wanted everybody to know, make sure you know, you're going to pay this back, and you're going to pay it back in multifold. And the way it stands right now, just in my grocery bill alone and in my fuel My fuel bills, my energy bills, if you just put those in there, I'm looking at already paying that stuff back. At the current rate, you know, I'd pay it back in a year, but those rates are going to go up. And everybody's going to pay that back, and they're going to pay it back with interest, with much interest. And they got to get it under control, and that's what's kind of starting to happen right now. The markets have been melting down basically since the beginning of the year. It's being controlled somewhat, and you're going to see a lot of fluctuation or a lot of volatility with this. But history is always a great place to go learn from, and if you look at any time that we've been in a bear market, which bear means that it's going down, you're going to have more upswings. Those upswings are going to be bigger, and every time that happens, people think, oh, we hit the bottom, we're good, flood your money into the markets, and then that upswing turns around again and gives you another big crash. And if they get that to happen with the right timing and get enough people to flood in there, there's going to be that one day, like I said, when the bottom just falls out of this thing. They said that this inflation was transitory. It wasn't going to stick around. You know, go back and look at Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, and Janet Yellen, which is the United States Treasury, what do they call that, Treasury Secretary or whatever. Look at her history. Look at the things that she's done, her accomplishments, and I tell you what, she's worth a whole nother video. Now, I'm not trying to put somebody down, but I'm just saying, look at her track record. Look at what she said coming into 2022, and look at what she's said as recently as the last 2 weeks. She now admits about the inflation. Anyway, that's for another video. We'll get into that later. How are we going to reach this bottom, or how are we going to know that we reach this bottom? It's going to happen when we finally get a true panic sell, and basically everybody, you know, we're talking all of your all the large financial banks, the investment banks, and the hedge funds, the investment firms, all of your retail investors, when everybody panic sells, pulls all that out, and we hit that 1 to 3 day, probably a 1 day though, one big plunge. Now that's the bad news. The good news is, once we hit that point, that's where we can start to rebuild. And for those that are ready, those that are prepared, they're going to be able to make a fortune off of this. Just like every crash, there's people that make out on it, but not everybody plays the market. So what do? Well, what I want to do is, the best we can, is to prepare everybody for how to survive this recession. 2008 gave us the Great Recession. I'm thinking this is going to be bigger. I don't know that it'll last longer, but it has the potential to be much bigger. So what you're going to have to concentrate on, where's your money going? What are you spending your money on? How can you save on your expenses? You know, we all have to pull together, share ideas, and help each other out. Excuse me. It's much like running in the heat of the day today. Oh, Kevin, you shouldn't run when it's so hot. No, it's a little more risky, but if you're conditioned for it, and as long as you haven't passed certain markers of temperature and humidity, you're okay. I say that to say this. It's going to be the same thing going through a market crash and a recession. So you're going to have to concentrate on how much money you got coming in and how much is going out, because you're going to see a lot of change in prices. I know you already have, but there's a potential to see some major increases from here. And if that happens, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be hurting. And we're going to have to step up. We're going to have to try to help out. So, you know, if you got ideas, please share them with me. Share them with everybody. Get the word out. Help spread this message. Help people to understand what's happening so they can prepare, so they can deal with it. So to sum up, they got to make this crash happen. They've got to raise interest rates. They got to get inflation under control. That's the number one goal. So they've got to do this. You can look at it like this. When you got a bad tooth, I mean a bad tooth, and it's hurting you to the point that it just feels like it's going to kill you, and death may feel better. It's going to be much like pulling that tooth. You know how bad it's going to hurt. Man, when those pliers touch that tooth, it's going to make your toes curl. Your butt ain't going to be on the seat no more. Well, that's how this is. We're going to have to pull that tooth. If we want to get away from this pain, we got to pull it. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt a lot of people. But if we don't pull it, that infection is going to kill us. End of story. No exceptions. So why trust me? Don't. Go do your own due diligence. Go do your own investigation. You know, if you don't believe what I'm saying or you don't trust it, I'm not insulted. I'm not going to feel bad. I'm going to feel better. Maybe you come across more information that I missed. You know, and don't think this is political. Both political sides are to blame. The whole system is fouled up. One big snafu. Situation normal. All fouled up. So I'm telling you. But if you want to believe me, that's great. I'll throw this in there. Since basically September of 2011, I have solely obtained my income from day trading in the stock market. I'm a little intimate with it. I've seen the manipulation. I won't even get into that right now. That's not even for another video. That's for a whole series. The manipulation. It's incredible. The politics, the Security Exchange Commission, the DT, CCCCCC, all these other entities. They're all in it. Both sides of the political parties, they're all in it. So anyway, go do your own investigating. Share the information. Find the truth. The truth. My only regret is not singing louder earlier. But that's behind me. Yeah. Past is gone forever. You're always in just the now. Today, what is yesterday's tomorrow, so there's only now. I'll keep the videos coming. They're not going to be pretty. They're not going to be very entertaining. They're not going to have big graphics or special effects. You know, not unless I have the time, because it takes a lot of time to do these videos. You just don't understand, maybe. But anyway, I'll keep making them. I'll keep spilling the information as long as you can share it. Tell other people. Tell the ones that's going to matter to the most. Start showing them how they can either make a little more money or save more money or both. How they can survive this a little better. And please like, share, subscribe, ring that notification bell. I hate that. I hate that whenever I see all these YouTube videos. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. But my message is important. And I have more, not just the stock market and the economy. But I'll start them up in different series and we'll keep them going. So for now, I love you. Be safe, be wise. Keep your eye on things.